In this section, we'll review the risk management plan elements in detail. The first element is methodology. Methodology, as used in risk management, describes how risk management will be performed, including methods, tools, and location of risk data. Roles and responsibilities describe the people responsible for managing the identified risks and their responses. These individuals may or may not be project team members. There may be a need on the project for objectivity in assessing and responding to risks that team members may not be able to perform. Budgeting assigns resources and estimates the costs of risk management. This budget is included in the project budget baseline. Timing documents the timing of the risk management processes and includes when and how often they'll be performed. It also includes associated activities in the project schedule. Risk categories, definitions of risk probability and impact, and probability and impact matrix will be covered later in this chapter. Revised stakeholder tolerances documents the new tolerance levels as they're identified. Reporting formats describe the content of the risk register and the format of that document. It also describes how risk information will be maintained, updated, analyzed, and reported. And tracking describes how the history of risk activities will be documented and how risk processes will be audited. Risk categories are a key element to the plan. You'll find that the categories are used over and over when identifying trends of the risk to the project. They provide a systematic way to identify and understand risks. They identify and document risk categories for the risk management plan, and if further clarification is needed, a risk breakdown structure can be created. If you don't remember what a risk breakdown structure is, you should reread the section on the work breakdown structure. The technique is the same. Some potential risk categories to keep in mind would include technical, quality, or performance risks that would be associated with new, complex, or any changes to technology, or project management risks, which would include improper scheduling and resource planning, a lack of project disciplines, or methodology. There's also organizational risks. These would include resource conflicts due to overdemand, unrealistic scope, time, and cost objectives, or lack of funding. And then there's also external risks, which would include new laws, regulations, labor issues, weather, and merger and acquisitions. The risk management plan provides a definition of probability and impact that will be used on the project. Probability describes the potential for the risk event, and impact describes the events or the effects or consequences to the project if the risk occurs. Remember, this document describes how the probability and impact will be used, but the actual content will be documented in a later process. The probability and impact matrix defines the combination of probability and impact that helps determine which risks need detailed risk response plans. The matrix is a definition of what will be used on the project and is not the content itself. The content is defined during the qualitative risk analysis process. This is a good time to provide you with a reminder. When you're running your projects, you may skip this step and move directly to identifying your risks and put them into the matrix. But for the purposes of the exam, you need to remember this output and what it actually does. Define what it is that will be used in the process and not get it confused with the task that is performed later. This concludes the risk management planning process. In the next section, we'll cover the next risk identification.